I want to start off by saying that I am not a huge fan of Batman. In fact, I'm not really a huge fan of superhero movies in general. I think the genre's gotten kind of stale and formulaic, especially due to Marvel and their success and DC trying to follow behind them. This new Batman movie was a change of pace. Finally, a superhero movie that wasn't afraid to be a little bit more dark and gritty like older Batman movies and actually tell a compelling story that didn't have a super climactic ultra villain and a alien machine that teleports aliens into the world and all that goofy shit. It's just a grounded story about a character, going through the motions and finding out what it means to be a hero, et cetera, et cetera. And I was very excited to see that film. When I first saw the trailer for the Batman, I definitely was excited for it, and I thought it was going to be, a good movie. I could tell that by the cinematography, by the acting, by the music, the pacing, all that I saw in the trailer. I just thought that if the movie was like this trailer, it's more than likely going to be a good movie. I want to start off by saying that I don't think that this is a bad movie. I know the title may give off that impression. I do think that this is all right. It's decent. It's okay. But I do not think that this is a good movie. I do not think that this is something that I would say is of high quality or amazing or a must see movie, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now, there are some great things about it for sure, and I'm going to go over those things and I'm going to explain why this movie is not everything that it could be. It could have been better. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of people kind of set off decency as good nowadays. If something is just decent, then it automatically becomes worthy of praise because we get so much nonsense and bullshit all the time that when something decent and acceptable comes along, we praise it too much. That can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because now when the directors and Robert Pattinson and everyone sits down and that this is going to be a trilogy more than likely, they definitely want a sequel because they're sequel baiting at the end of it. So when they sit down and say, hey, what are we going to do with the next one? They're going to look at the reception for the first film and they're going to go, okay, people like this, people like that. They said everything we did was great, so let's just do the same shit again. We have to, as an audience, even if we get a good quality product, we still have to acknowledge the flaws of the product, admit that there are flaws, point out the flaws. So hopefully the next go around, those flaws won't be as prevalent or, if possible, completely gone. So we can get rid of all the bad stuff and keep all the good stuff. So that's why I'm going to review this movie because I've yet to see any other human review this movie in the way I'm about to do it. I'm going to be harsh, but I'm going to be honest. And this is going to be full of spoilers. So be warned. Now, keep in mind, quick disclaimer, this is a 3-hour movie. I just saw it 2 days ago. I had to give myself a day to take it in and really make sure that my opinion was what I wanted to say. Obviously, I've only seen it once and I can't remember every single thing that happened in a 3-hour movie, but I get the major themes and plots and what the story was going for. I'm 99% sure of that. If I'm wrong about anything, feel free to correct me at any time in the comments because obviously it's a lot to expect someone to remember a 3-hour film, the entirety of it, from start to finish, but I get the most part of it. Okay. And again, there's going to be spoilers. You don't want spoilers. Don't watch this video. Okay. Let's get into it. So the Batman, the overarching thing I want to get into, the main basically TLDR of this video, the cinematography, the directing, the acting, the soundtrack, the set work, camera work, pacing, it's phenomenal. It's all great. It's all wonderful. There's nothing wrong. I couldn't find one single flaw in any of it ever the entire time. Maybe it was a little too dark at some moments, but other than that, it was great. 100%. No problem whatsoever. The problem with this movie that I have with it, anyways, is the story. The story is not good. It's not a good story. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna break it down, start to finish. It's not a good story. Other thing is the choice to make it 3 hours long. Did not need to be 3 hours long. This movie could have easily shaved off maybe maybe 45 minutes. I'd have to rewatch it again, but this definitely could have been a 2 hour movie for sure. There's a lot of things in this movie that did not need to be there at all. And I will give a perfect example. So the movie starts off with the villain of the movie staring at his victim outside of a window, spying on him. He slowly spies on him for about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of screen time. And while he's spying on him, we learn nothing of significance while he's sitting outside the window about the character at all. We don't know who the character is. We don't know who the person he's spying on is. We have no idea. That could have been completely cut, and it wouldn't have taken anything out of the movie. They could have just started from while he was inside the apartment. For those who've seen the movie, know what I'm talking about. So that's just an example of things that don't have to be there, but they decided to put them there. It seemed to me like they just wanted the movie to be longer. That's not necessarily a good thing. This is not really a big hefty plot, if you ask me. There's less that happens in this movie than what happens in The Dark Knight. Now, The Dark Knight was about an hour shorter, so you definitely could have shortened this. But that's neither here nor there. So let's go ahead and get into the plot, right? So the plot of the Batman. Essentially, the Riddler is an orphan. He was an orphan, and Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, had promised to revitalize the orphanage, make it a better place because the orphans were treated like shit because Gotham's a shitty city. So, of course, the orphans are going to be treated like shit. And he promised to make it a better place. But unfortunately, he was killed before he was able to become mayor. So once he was killed, everyone just kind of forgot about the policies that he was going to put into place, and the orphanage was left to shit. And on top of that, Bruce Wayne was made an orphan. Now, it's terrible that Bruce Wayne was made an orphan, but in the eyes of the Riddler, Bruce Wayne is maybe an orphan, but at least he's a fucking rich orphan, like at least he has a complete home and money and all that stuff. So you can see where he's coming from there, to where he'd have some sort of resentment towards Bruce Wayne, as well as resentment towards the city, who forgot about them, even though Bruce Wayne had promised that everything would change. So he enacts revenge essentially on the city by going after the current mayor of the city, who's refusing to make change, as well as some other people who were like a district attorney who turns his back, closes a blind eye for bribes to crimes and things like that, as well as who else? Some other guy who. Okay, I remember the district attorney, and there's some other guy who he kills. The besides for the mayor, I can't remember who he was, but basically these are like corrupt people who have you know indefensively done bad things, and Batman is charged with finding out the Riddler's next victim and why the Riddler's doing what he's doing. And the Riddler leaves clues for Batman. He leaves envelopes, he leaves leaves little hints and shit like that for Batman to go to the next point and the next point and the next point. And it turns out eventually that it goes back to Bruce Wayne. And it turns out that Bruce Wayne's parents were a little bit corrupt themselves. They actually, Bruce Wayne's mother was in and out of Arkham Asylum, and they paid to get that hushed up so nobody would talk about that. As well as Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, was running for mayor, and he wanted to keep someone quiet about a secret. At first, he tried to bribe the man, but that didn't work. So then he tried to use a goon to threaten him, and then the goon ended up killing the man. So, while Batman is out here, trying to be a right man and do the right thing, his father was kind of shady, which is a pretty cool twist for Batman. Till you find out that Batman's father actually did not get the guy killed. He wanted him just to get roughened up, not killed. And when Bruce Wayne figures that out, he goes, "Oh, well, that's not so bad. Okay, well, I'm fine then." It's really weird because his dad still did shady shit, and he kind of just brushes it off because his dad didn't actually kill the guy. If his dad had killed the guy, then it would have been a lot worse for him, I guess. But because he didn't actually want the guy killed, it just happened to out of his control. Is okay, but he still was doing shady shit. So I don't know about that. And then Alfred, the way Bruce Wayne finds out about this is Alfred tells him. which is also kind of weird. Alfred didn't tell him this whole time. Now I understand he maybe didn't want to have Bruce have that side of his parents be revealed. But I mean, come on, bro. Like, Bruce never asked, "Hey, what happened to my parents, Alfred? Like, what were they? Why did they die?" Or he never tried to investigate it himself in this universe. Like, I feel like that's like the first thing Batman would do is figure out what happened to his parents. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even care to look into it. Like, it was pretty easy for him to figure it out in this movie. So I don't see why he wouldn't have been able to figure it out before if he had have actually tried to. So that means he didn't try to, which is kind of weird, don't you think? um, but you know, that plot point was, it was interesting, but I feel like they dropped the ball on it because Bruce Wayne or Batman gets over it way too quickly. Like it's resolved like in the next scene. He finds out, and then it's resolved in the next scene that it's not that bad. You know, I didn't really take too kindly to that. Okay, but the real issue with the story is the Riddler. The Riddler is probably one of the worst villains I've seen in a while. Um, Not in terms of his concept, but in terms of his execution. And here's why. His reasoning is sound enough. I'm perfectly on board with his reasoning. What I don't understand is his plan. His plan is so stupid. First thing is he turns himself in for no reason. There was no reason for him to turn himself in. The only reason I could think of for him to turn himself in was so that they'd have a interrogation scene. That's the only reason I could think of. He turns himself in for no reason whatsoever. If someone could tell me the reason why he turned himself in, I'd love to hear it. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as I saw in the movie, he had no reason to turn himself in. So the Riddler turns himself in for no reason. That's one thing that I thought was a red flag. Second thing was his plan is to basically flood the city. That's the end game of his plan, is to flood the city. But I thought that he was supposed to be going after people who were corrupt and, you know, going and using the city to, you know, like help themselves and selfish, you know, people like that. Why is he killing or potentially killing innocent people now? That was never his thing. Like he never killed someone who wasn't directly like a problem. Even in the movie, Bruce Wayne acknowledges that he doesn't hurt innocent people. That's why Gordon was safe, because Gordon was a good cop. So he doesn't have to worry about Gordon getting hurt. Bruce Wayne literally says that. Batman literally says like you're good because you're not corrupt. So why then does he do a complete 360 or 180, whatever you want to call it, and tries to drown tons of innocent people? And then in his final plan, he sets it up so where his, I guess you could say, followers attempt to kill a bunch of innocent people, like for no reason. Like why are you killing innocent people? Is it because you're just a bad guy? I thought you were supposed to be like this guy who is fighting for justice, or what you perceive to be justice. Where did we get to this jump in logic? He turns himself in, and they have an interrogation scene. This scene pissed me off so much because before the interrogation scene begins, Batman is in the Riddler's apartment. And while he's in the apartment, he sees posters and pictures on the wall of newspaper printouts. And there's literally a newspaper printout that says Batman and Bruce Wayne. They're literally right next to each other. And the Riddler wrote on the page and said, "Who are you really?" While Bruce Wayne was sitting, a picture of Bruce Wayne sitting right next to him. So Batman makes the obvious observation that, oh man, the Riddler knows who I am. He's going to reveal who I am to everyone. Oh, well. So then he goes, yeah, I guess I just have to go hear the Riddler out. The Riddler wanted to speak to him, only him. So he goes, okay, I'll go hear what the Riddler has to say. And before he goes, he tells Gordon, "You're a good cop," as if he knows that the Riddler knows who he is, which makes perfect sense. I thought that. The audience thought that. The movie thought that. So we all on the same page, right? So we get to the interrogation. He sits down with Riddler, or stands up, whatever you want to say. And Riddler goes, "Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne," over and over again, as if he's trying to tell the police that are listening in on this conversation that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And even while that scene is happening, Batman takes a look at the camera and goes, "Damn, dude, this dude is really tattletelling on me." And immediately after that happens, he goes, "Bruce Wayne. That's all anyone ever cares about is Bruce Wayne. Everyone thought he was an orphan. No one cared about him." And he changes the entire topic. And then Batman goes, "Oh shit, he really doesn't know who I am." It was so stupid. It was so annoying. That part right there pissed me off so much, because why did not only Batman set it up that way. The movie set it up that way. The Riddler himself set it up that way. He's the Riddler. He's been setting clues all over and then right after that, he tells Batman, "You aren't really that smart after all, bitch. You literally have a picture of Batman and Bruce Wayne side by side, and you are telling me that you don't know that that's Batman. You wrote it on the wall that who are you really, or some shit like that. Like you very very obviously hinted that you knew who he was, and you didn't. You had no clue that this is Batman. So it kills me. It blew my mind away. I was like, why did they do this? They literally took the movie down a whole entire number from that scene alone. I could not believe my eyes. I was like, they really tried to fake me out in this stupid ass way. Like, why did they do that? It was so dumb. That I don't. I would love for someone to defend that scene. I would love for someone to defend that plot thread. Please, somebody defend it for me so I can not hate it as much, because that really took the movie down for me. Okay, enough talking about that. So the Riddler as a villain, I thought he was pretty ass. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really like his acting, his performance. He just starts screaming randomly when he finds out that Batman goes and stops his plan, which was fucking obvious that Batman would do that. He starts screaming in the cell. Like, it's just so weird, man. It's like he was overacting, and I'm not sure why people think that overacting in this movie is good when he literally felt like Jared Leto to me. Jared Leto Joker to me, but I guess he's not Joker, so it's fine. Like, no offense against the actor, but I did not like his performance at all. Like, I didn't like. I liked when he was serious, but when he started screaming and jumping all over the place and acting weird just to act weird for weird's sake, it was just like, nah, bro. Like, this ain't it. I wasn't feeling it from him. He was way too um yeah, he was way too non-threatening of a character to behave that way for me. So that didn't work for me. Okay, so but all right, so let's move on. Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz, her role, she looked good, obviously. She she's very good at everything that she does. I don't know how she learned how to be this amazing ass person. They never really go into that, but she's fucking very skilled at fighting, stealing, and all this and whatnot. Her and Batman develop a relationship. Is it believable? As believable as it's ever been. For someone to fall in love with Batman, a man who they can only see half of his face and he never really says anything, but it is what it is. He does show that he cares for her and her well-being, and she does the same. Their chemistry is pretty decent. It's all right. I'm not really too mad about it, but it seemed like the movie was definitely putting a little bit too much emphasis on their relationship than I would have liked. Not a ridiculous amount, but it's okay. And then the Penguin was pretty good. I like the way he was portrayed, well acting and stuff like that. But there was this one scene that I did not understand. So the Penguin basically takes over as a mob boss, but he's only pretending to be the mob boss so that the actual mob boss doesn't get caught. Basically, I assume that's what I got from it. And while doing so, he has a lot of money. He has a lot of money being transported, and Catwoman comes and tries to steal the money. And while she's trying to steal the money, she finds her friend, which she had been looking for the entire movie, dead in the bag, which was just so convenient, right? And then he goes, "I have no idea why she was there." The Penguin says, "I have no idea why she was there," which is like, what? Why? How do you not know that? Why did they bring a dead body for you then? What are your henchmen bringing that dead body for? Were they just driving it around for fun? Obviously, you must have known. If the money's there, then that means you know what's going on, but whatever. And then out of nowhere, Batman gets the Batmobile. He literally gets the Batmobile. They were trailing someone to get to the factory. They find the factory, and then all of a sudden the Batmobile appears out of thin air. Where did he get the Batmobile? Who brought it? Did Alfred bring it? Who brought the Batmobile? So he gets in the Batmobile and he chases the Penguin through the highway just because he wants to ask Penguin a question. He literally killed people. People literally died from this. The Penguin knocks over trucks and explodes the highway and all type of shit. Like, you see it in the trailer. And this all could have been avoided. Batman literally could have just waited. He could have just let him go and wait till later. Like, it's not like the Penguin was gonna leave town or anything. He could have just saw him a different night. It wasn't imperative that he got him at that exact moment. It's so much so that he killed innocent people. Batman didn't kill the people, but he could have prevented their deaths if he hadn't chased the penguin. Like a lot of people died from that chase scene. It was an awesome chase scene, though. I'll give you that. But a lot of people definitely died from that chase scene alone. So Batman just he shows he may preach about how he always wants to be like, this, oh, he can't hurt people, but he definitely puts people in harm's way in this movie in times that necessarily didn't have to. There's this one time where a guy has a bomb on his neck and he's like more concerned about getting the answer to his crime than the guy dying. And then the guy dies and he goes unconscious because he stayed too close to the bomb. And that happens a few seconds in the end scene, at the end of the scene, in the last big action scene, he gets shot in the chest and would have died. It's like a lot of moments in this movie where it's like Batman isn't really being that smart, to be honest with you. He's just like walking into like guys with like 1,000 guns and just like punching them. Like, I understand you got to do what you got to do, but like, damn, you can't go about it a smarter way. Like, you already distracted them. Like, I don't know, man. He didn't seem like that smart of a Batman to me. Like, a lot of the crime was being solved for him because the Riddler was leaving clues for him. Even the biggest part of the crime, he didn't even figure it out. It was someone else who did. A cop fact figured it out. So it's like, and that was after he got hints from the Riddler to figure it out. So I didn't think this Batman was very intelligent. I don't think he was really figuring anything out too crazy. But people say he was a big detective. He was good at solving riddles. I'll give you that. But he wasn't like figuring anything out. Like the Riddler basically gave him all the answers, and he still was getting it wrong sometimes. So it was like, I don't know. But yeah, so this is all I can really say based off my memory. Like, I'm trying to give you a very general gist of it, but I hope I've presented to you why, and especially someone who's seen the movie can definitely probably put the pieces together a lot better than someone who hasn't. Once again, I do not think this is a bad movie. I just want to let that out. This is not a bad movie. If you like Batman, if you like thrillers, if you like mystery movies, if you like action movies, you're going to have a good time with this movie. If you just like a well shot, well acted movie, you're going to have a good time. No doubt in my mind. But there are things about this movie that could have been done better. And the weakest part, I would say, is the story, which really sucks because the story could have easily been a lot better, but they decided to do some really questionable things that I feel like they didn't have to do, and they really went out of their way to make shit stupid. Like they never commit to the act of what they were. Like it's a lot of like resets. Like, for example, Batman punches Gordon to get out of the police, to run away from the police when they had him in custody, and then later on the police are just working with him and they're cool with him. They don't even care. It's like, did they forget that they were out on a manhunt for him? Like, what's going on? I don't know, man. I feel like I missed something, but I was watching it, like I was really paying attention to it. I was into the movie. It's just certain things was just like, that just doesn't make sense. My brain was just like, nah, man, like that don't make sense, bro. But hey, look, again, the reason why I'm making this is because I just want to put those criticisms out there. If no one listens to them, if nobody cares, hey, it is what it is. If the next movie's better, I hope it is. I'm certainly gonna go see it. Can't wait to. It looks like the Joker's gonna be in the next one, by the way. So we got another Joker being portrayed. How many fucking Jokers are we gonna have? You know what I'm saying? But all right. Well, I'm done. I'm done ranting. All right, y'all have a great day.